Well, welcome to Oracle Database World session on multi-cloud cost optimization with Oracle Database Cloud. My name is Michael Mersch. I'm a principal product manager for Oracle in the Exadata Cloud team. And I'm joined today by Jim Scaduto, Equinix Global Alliance Director for Oracle. The two of us are going to go through roughly 20 slides on how Oracle is embracing the multi-cloud architectures of the future. We're going to talk about cost optimization. We're going to talk about how we connect to other clouds, be it our Azure partnership with Microsoft or through Equinix, our premier Fast Connect partner. Thank you for joining, and we'll go ahead and get started. So this first section, we're going to talk about digital transformation and how it's accelerating the use of public cloud. Within Oracle, we have noticed the trend, like everybody else has, that during these challenging times, people are really relying on public cloud infrastructure. We take a look at the Flexera State of the Cloud report that came out in March of 2021, and some of the data points seem to be really favoring where Oracle is going in the public cloud and our position in the public cloud. First, very interesting data point on the left-hand side is that during COVID-19, the majority of customers are increasing their use of public cloud. And that might not surprise everybody just because there is a tremendous amount of online activity that we're all doing. However, it's very interesting to take a look at how much they're accelerating it. So they had current plans. Very few of them on the left-hand side there are decreasing their plans to use the public cloud. A significant part, nearly a third of them, are reporting that we are significantly increasing our public cloud usage. And a good 2/3 of it, of respondents are saying, slightly increasing. So the trend towards public cloud is not just, proceeding linearly, it's accelerating. And this is a good thing for public cloud providers like Oracle, of course. In the middle section, the growth is not necessarily just to one cloud. There is a significant growth or a definite trend towards multiple clouds. That's also pretty obvious. People are avoiding vendor lock-in. They are avoiding getting stuck and paying a single price to a single cloud vendor. A lot of the multi-cloud architectures that we're seeing today have really grown organically, right? So one department within a multinational corporation decided to use AWS. Another department decided to use Azure or Oracle or Google. Now we're seeing these multi-cloud environments grow, not just organically, but with a real purpose. A big recommendation of analysts these days is to have a central center of excellence around multi-cloud or around their cloud spend. Centralize it, proceed with a clear strategy about using what cloud for what workload. This bodes really well for Oracle. We believe that we have the best of breed products in certain areas, like obviously database and how we manage data. So that is a very likely usage for the Oracle cloud as to be one of those multiple public clouds. Also, 15% of that 76 responded that they intend to add an additional cloud within 12 months. So people will be ultimately using 2, if not 3 clouds in a very heterogeneous cloud environment. This, we think, is a really good trend for Oracle as we make our cloud as open as possible so that we can not only coexist with the other clouds, but interoperate as seamlessly as possible. The third data point that we thought was interesting was data integration between clouds. So this is a survey of respondents said what they were doing within a multi-cloud environment. The number one is the apps siloed on different clouds. This is indicative of the organic growth that we've seen in the past. So in the past, where different groups were deciding on their own to do a project on some cloud. The data integration between clouds, we think, is a great trend. And it's also the fastest growing workload in a multi-cloud environment. This means that people are doing multi-cloud data analytic pipeline type stuff. They're doing split stack architecture where they might be running an app in a different cloud, but the database in another cloud. This is the key use case that we are trying to grow within Oracle and within our customer base. Just a couple more data points on the state of the cloud. One, we also found on the left-hand side that data is moving more and more into the public cloud. Some really eye-opening data points here where nearly half of the data that customers have has already moved into the public cloud. So customers are becoming much more comfortable with the public cloud. They understand that the security is not as much of a concern as it was in the past. So more and more data will be moving into the cloud. And another data point that 8%, so the data moving into the public, 8% more data will be moving in the public cloud within the next 12 months. So more than 50% of customers' data is expected to be living in the public cloud within 2022. This is a great trend that we want to be the provider to provide, products that can manage, can offer the best performance to manage that data. This also translates into the top 5 PaaS services that we're seeing. So these are respondents are saying, what are the typical PaaS services that you're using in the hyperscalers? Number 1 by far is data warehouse. Data warehouse, database as a service. These are the primary use cases that people are using as a PaaS service in the cloud. Again, this is a great trend for somebody like Oracle that has really world-class products in those areas. Let's take a look at a couple of the reasons why somebody might choose Oracle products that are running on OCI and connecting those products to an app tier or other workloads that are existing on other CSPs. We think there's really 4 of them that are very strong reasons. Number 1 is the Exadata database machine. So Exadata is unique in the industry. If you noticed last week or a while ago here, we launched the Exadata X9M piece of hardware. This is in a league of its own in terms of performance. So Oracle has, over the number of years, been obviously iterating on the database software side and optimizing and tuning and adding additional new features to the database so it can support all manner of workloads and file types. But the real difference with Oracle is that we've combined that software with optimized hardware. That strategy of having hardware that is aware of the software that's running on top of it and can optimize it to give extreme performance is, frankly, it's just completely different from the other cloud vendors, where the other cloud vendors are focusing on as commodity hardware as possible. Let's do any type of hardware that we can, run any type of database on it. It's not very specific, and it's certainly not optimized for performance. So with the launch of X9M, with the running of Oracle database on Exadata hardware, you achieve a performance that you just simply can't get on any other public cloud. Moving to the right is RAC. So Oracle Real Application Clusters is something that has long been a crown jewel of the Oracle database product, giving you high availability, linear performance with scale out, and enabling 0 downtime and 0 maintenance. The RAC solution can only be found on OCI as well. Autonomous database. Now, this innovation is a really significant change for Oracle. So the autonomous database, meaning self-driving, self-repairing, self-securing, saving a tremendous amount of time for patching and maintenance of your database. This is a great way to get involved with the Oracle database and automate your features so that you can focus on doing what you would do best and allow the autonomous database to manage the data itself. All combined, Oracle has a number of database products, a number of database services, all running on OCI that give it the broadest and most in-depth Oracle database capabilities in the public cloud. Now, when you combine that, the best database offerings, and you combine that with what we refer to as the best platform in the cloud of any CSP, that's a winning combination. Very similar to the way Exadata is software optimized for hardware, meaning the Exadata machine is optimized and aware of the software that's running on top of it. We've also optimized OCI. OCI, as many of you know, has been in the market for a number of years now. the team that built OCI came from AWS and had the opportunity to develop a cloud from scratch. Do it the way that you would do it the second time around. And hindsight's always 2020. So in this way, we've tried to really focus on price performance, and that be the calling card of the public cloud. We've committed ourselves to avoid oversubscription. The team that came over from AWS was well aware of the problems of noisy neighbor, the problems of not having dedicated hardware. They know that enterprises needed dedicated hardware, so we offered bare metal servers. So we tried to improve upon the network, the security, and the underlying hardware that we make available to customers, and we try to do all of it at a lower price point and compete on that way in that manner. So very simplified, low everyday low pricing. We'll talk about the pricing model of universal cloud credits in a later slide, but we've drastically simplified the pricing in the public cloud. Now you don't have to worry about choosing the type of server and the type of operating system in the specific region that you want it for, the term that you want it for. You have tremendous flexibility on OCI, all at a less price. Key enterprise capabilities. So we continually innovate on Kubernetes management, and we see a lot of customers now investing in OKE, Oracle Kubernetes Engine. Data security has always been the calling card of Oracle, and that has moved over into the OCI platform as well. And again, on the networking, we are not oversubscribing our network. You're not going to get noisy neighbor problems, all at a significantly lower cost than the AWS bandwidth. Bandwidth for us is really not a profit center for us. It's a lower cost version for us. It's a loss leader for us in a number of cases, and that's where we're going to significantly offer advantages to customers. We also have very comprehensive SLAs as well, performance SLAs across the board on all resources within OCI. Now let's move into a little bit more about how Oracle is optimizing around this new world of multi-cloud. Multi-cloud we see as a best practice from going forward. So we fully embrace multi-cloud. Oracle has a goal of being the most interoperable cloud on the planet. We want to be seamlessly connected to other clouds if that's needed. So let's take a look at who are our current customers using OCI in a multi-cloud architecture. Oftentimes it's our most important customers, the ones that have been with us for a number of years, the customers that are leveraging our most important products, and they're running the most critical of their workloads. These are our key accounts. It's important to note a large percentage of our top 100 OCI customers are using either the Azure Interconnect or one of our Fast Connect partners like Equinix to connect to multiple CSPs. We're very aware of this. These are the top revenue producing OCI customers, our largest, most important customers, and oftentimes that are leveraging these interconnects. They're the ones that are doing multi-cloud because they're typically multinational. They have a big reach around the world. They have to connect multiple regions. They want to significantly invest in DR. These are the companies that are not taking a chance as they move their workloads, and most importantly, their data workloads into the public cloud. They want to have that connectivity, and that's why they're leveraging some of these partners. So a large percentage of our multi-cloud customers are Exadata customers. Exadata is not just a crown jewel of ours, but it's an anchor within customers. It is something that customers build around, and they're really reluctant to give up on that performance. So as other teams within companies are moving to the cloud, they've tried to connect back to on-prem, oftentimes an Exadata machine that's running on-prem. Now that we offer Exadata Cloud Service, there's a lot more flexibility for these customers. And if I look at our Azure Interconnect customers, the customers that are leveraging the partnership with Microsoft, a large percentage of those are Exadata customers. Also, a large percentage are Oracle Analytic Cloud customers. They're doing analytic processing on OCI because they're taking advantage of the of the faster performing machines on OCI to do a lot of their analytic processing. In terms of what vertical, it's a very horizontal thing for us. So we see large customers across every vertical adopting multi-cloud. They might be running an app tier on Azure written in .NET, but the back end might be on Oracle, on OCI. So we're seeing this across all verticals in all industries, and oftentimes our most large, most important customers. So eventually, we do expect that 100% of OCI customers become multi-cloud or operate in a multi-cloud environment. So in looking, how are they connecting? And this is something that we spend a lot of time on, trying to figure out how can we make it as simple as possible? How can we make it as easy as possible for people to coexist or OCI with other clouds? So the majority of our customers today are running site-to-site VPN connections. Obviously, it's readily available. Oftentimes, they have some agreement with somebody like an AT&T or a lease line to get into the a cloud on-ramp. These people are, they're doing obviously a secure IPsec tunnels to go into it. It's oftentimes cheap, very reliable. It's quick and it's readily available to our customers. So a large number of the current OCI customers are just simply connecting site-to-site VPN. But as I mentioned, the bigger customers, the customers that have a broad reach, the enterprise customers that are leveraging Exadata, they're looking at these other two boxes. Typically the OCI Azure Interconnect, the relationship between Microsoft and Oracle to connect our two clouds, or one of our Fast Connect partners like Equinix, and we're joined here today by Jim. So on the Azure Interconnect, we'll talk about that in a couple slides here, and then I'll transition over to him. The Azure Interconnect, it's very important to note that this is a private connection between our two clouds. So Oracle and Microsoft own this connection. We purchased the circuits, we purchased the line, and there is no intermediary in between it. So we have a line that's running from the Oracle cage to the Microsoft cage, wherever we are connected. It's a private, secure, physical connection between the two clouds. Wherever we integrate or wherever we interconnect these two clouds, we are trying to optimize around low latency. So the internal goal for us would be sub 2 milliseconds to transfer data from one cloud to another and back again. So round trip, low latency of sub 2 milliseconds between VM to VM. As part of our agreement with Microsoft, we enacted a collaborative support agreement. This means that if you're an Oracle customer, you can open up a trouble ticket within My Oracle Support. And if it is around the interconnect, it can be seamlessly shared with a team at Microsoft that can support that as well, if it's related to the Azure side. We've also set up, we've also spent a lot of time trying to simplify the setup of this interconnect. So this is as easy as going into the OCI console and choosing Fast Connect Microsoft, and going into the Azure console and choosing ExpressRoute Oracle. Once you set up these two connections, we can have a connectivity between the two clouds in under an hour. Now we have taken the extra step to create Terraform scripts that can deploy those two connection points for you. So the last part is Fast Connect. Obviously, this is a core requirement of any CSP. We have all the required Fast Connect partnerships that you might expect at any other hyperscaler, Equinix being one of them. These offer us broad geographic reach, broad reach to other CSPs, including ISVs as well. If you want to connect Salesforce to Oracle Cloud, to IBM Cloud, to Azure, AWS, GCP. This is the area that we can do that, and we have a lot of companies that are choosing this step. These are customers are typically our larger customers at Oracle are typically already customers of people like Equinix, and they've made it as simple as possible to connect to other clouds, and that's a big focus for them as well. So digging into the Azure agreement specifically. So this is a long-term agreement that has significant executive commitment on both sides. This is something that both sides feel is a competitive advantage in the market. It's very unique. This is the only direct connection that we know of in the cloud. So this is a direct connection, physical connection between two clouds. A lot of the other CSPs do allow multi-cloud and allow it to be connected through Fast Connect partners. The Oracle to Microsoft connection is a very unique, one-of-a-kind partnership in the cloud space today. Along with that, we mentioned the collaborative support. We want to avoid any type of finger pointing between Microsoft and Azure, so we are collaborating on any support tickets. And we've unified identity access management. So if you are going into the Azure console, you can manipulate a resource in OCI with your same federated identity. So in taking a look at the use cases that people are doing with the Interconnect today. So this was launched in 2019, so we're a couple of years in. When we did an evaluation of our current customer base that is making use of this Interconnect, about 62% of them responded that the primary reason that they wanted to do this was a split stack architecture. That typically means running EBS, PeopleSoft, Hyperion, JD Edwards, or the retail management suite on Azure, running that application stack on Azure, connecting over the Interconnect to the Oracle database running on OCI. 38% of the respondents, we believe, responded that their primary reason for doing this was a multi-cloud data analytic pipeline. This means that they are collecting data sourced from a lot of different sources that might exist on Azure or OCI, sending that data on a nightly basis over the Interconnect and doing their analytic processing somewhere within the cloud, be it either on Azure or on OCI. That is a use case that we specifically want to promote and that we want to grow going forward. We believe that data analytic pipeline can significantly add value to the customer in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about that in another session. Secondly, we want to talk about the Oracle database itself. So Oracle database, as you know, has been around for a long time. It was first released in an era where we were doing very slow network connectivity. So it's very well positioned, I guess, to be to run across the network in a very efficient manner. So there are no issues with running really any type of workload and connecting to the Oracle database over this Interconnect, or for that matter, over the Equinix Interconnect. It's great for OLTP. It's great for analytics. We see that this in this manner you can run this product. This is oftentimes the sub 2 millisecond connection point is faster than what any of these applications typically run in. So it's a great database for the network. It runs very efficiently and for any workload to run in this manner. So where are we connected with Azure? So we can't connect everywhere with the Azure Interconnect. We have, of course, 30 public regions across the OCI's worldwide estate. Within the Azure Interconnect, though, we only currently have 8 interconnected regions, and we're adding 1 in November, so we'll have 9 before the end of this calendar year. These 9 regions all have the same type of characteristics. They're all in a location where we have close proximity between the Azure data center and the Oracle data center. So we look for these areas. So we try to figure out, can we find a data center within Azure and Oracle that is within 50 kilometers? Given that distance, we know that, or we can be reasonably assured that we're going to get the sub 2 millisecond latency. So close proximity, and then we add in customer interest. So this partnership from day one has really been driven by customer demand. So if customers are, exist in, say, Seoul, Korea, and there's a high demand for this interconnect, and oftentimes we do get large companies that come to us and say, hey, I've been invested in the Azure cloud platform. I've been invested in Exadata or Oracle products for a long time. I've built my business around the Oracle database. It would help me if you two got together and interconnected in this region. Given that demand from the customer, if we get critical mass, more than a handful of customers are asking for it, then Microsoft and Oracle will diligently go ahead and deploy an interconnect. And that's something that we do on a regular basis, where we're evaluating the regions, making sure there is customer demand and making sure that it physically is feasible to connect in a very low latency manner. So this number of regions will continue to grow. So 8 today, another one before the end of this calendar year in 2021. We will see additional regions on a frequent and regular basis going forward between Oracle and Microsoft. Okay, so now let's take a look at an Azure Interconnect reference. Today we're going to look at Integra Life Sciences. This is a fantastic use case that we've just published a blog post on, which I've provided the link here on the slide. The use case is that they are trying to consolidate all of their ERP systems onto EBS within OCI, and they're backending that with the Oracle database. They also are a large Azure customer, running a whole manner of all kinds of applications on the front end, as well as Power BI for their analytics of Azure. Now that they are able to move both workloads into the cloud, their front end on Azure and their ERP systems and back office, as well as the Oracle database onto OCI, they can very easily connect the two clouds over the interconnect and achieve a performance reduction. So reducing their analytic processing window from 8.5 hours when they had one workload on-prem connecting to a cloud-based workload, 8.5 hours down to 3.5 hours. And you can see a great quote there from our customer. So I would encourage you to take a look at this blog post. It goes into a tremendous amount of detail, but this is a great customer reference for the Azure Interconnect. Okay, at this moment, I'm going to bring in Jim Scaduto, who is the Global Alliance Manager for Equinix. We work very closely with Equinix on a number of counts, and he's going to take you through a couple slides here to give you an overview of their company and what they're doing with Oracle in a multi-cloud environment.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the time. This slide shows a real basic architecture that we have inside of Equinix. We call it Platform Equinix. It allows enterprise customers to connect to the various cloud providers that we have connected on the other side of our fabric. Again, we have over 2,900 of these cloud and IT service providers that you can access through Equinix. Once you're inside of one of our data centers, you can put either your own networking hardware or use our software-defined networking, and then connect to our fabric. And I'll show you a picture of our fabric and backbone in just a minute. Then over a private, secure, and actually low-cost connection into the cloud providers, you can easily connect in a self-service portal. These connections can cost a few $100s a month, and you pay as you use, and you can turn them off and turn them on as you wish. They're easy and fast to implement. If you are a current Equinix customer, to connect up to one of the cloud providers in our network only takes 30 minutes or less. If you're a brand new customer and wish to use our SDN solution, then you can connect usually within a day of working with Equinix networking team. This is a very low latency, private and secure network, as I mentioned. So once you're inside of Equinix data center, into your networking hardware, firewalls, and then out into the fabric, it is all private and dedicated to you as a customer. That's why it's such high speed. We have various cloud service providers in our ecosystem. It is very large. We have content providers, network service providers, and cloud service providers around the world in various locations. Michael, if you would mind going to the next slide. So as I mentioned, our Equinix Fabric is a backbone connecting all of our 220 plus data centers around the world. So no matter where you come into the closest place to your enterprise location, you can access other of your locations across the country or across the world. You can access cloud network service providers and any of our content providers as well. So most of our customers come to us for a multi-cloud connection. As Michael was mentioning earlier, most of them are using a split stack architecture. And so connecting Oracle to many of the other cloud service providers. And you can see here on this map that the dark red dots show where we have Equinix Fabric connected to OCI Fast Connect as well. So globally, lots of connections, lots of capabilities, and thousands of service providers that you can access through our Equinix Fabric backbone. Go ahead, Michael, to the next slide. And this is an example of a large pharmaceutical company that came to Equinix to connect AWS to Oracle in Phoenix here in California. They used our software-defined networking solution called Network Edge. They had an ERP system with production workloads running in AWS in Silicon Valley. They wished to move their test dev and pre-production applications into OCI in Phoenix. They needed a private connectivity between AWS and OCI in Phoenix that was secure. They had a lot of information that was quite important to this customer and wanted this low latency private connection. So we helped them with the Network Edge solution, connecting AWS and then moving their test dev and pre-production data across that line all the way into Phoenix. Now you may see here that the Equinix location is actually in Los Angeles, that we connect and have a Fast Connect point of presence in our Los Angeles office, and then directly connects into Oracle Cloud over Fast Connect. So this is an example of customers moving data and migrating data across our network. Customers use it as a split stack by having a database in Oracle Cloud, an application tier in AWS, and other clouds. So we offer a majority of our customers the multi-cloud capabilities of connecting any cloud provider that you need to OCI. Michael, back to you.
Great, thank you, Jim. Okay, so we've gone through 2/3 of this presentation. The first one, we've really talked about how the Oracle product line is thriving in a multi-cloud trend. We've also talked about how you can connect Oracle Cloud to other clouds. Now we're going to dig into how Oracle delivers cost optimization specifically for our database products. So the first thing is to note, we have multiple database products, right? And data shows that customers typically use more than one, one to two different database services. So we have the DBaaS product that is offered on OCI as a database cloud service that runs within a virtual machine. Most price competitive offering if you want to run the Oracle database in the public cloud. Secondly, we have the Oracle Exadata Cloud Service. This is highly differentiated. So Exadata, as we've talked about, is a competitive advantage in the marketplace. It's yielding performance that is on a different level from anything else that you can purchase in the public cloud. Exadata has been around for a number of years. It's now being used by 87% of the Fortune 100. Extreme performance that we're offering, redundancy, high availability. When you purchase the Exadata Cloud Service, you're getting dedicated infrastructure to your workloads. This is the most cost-effective way, Exadata Cloud Service, most cost-effective way to leverage the hardware and software optimization of the Oracle strategy. And third, we have the Autonomous Database. Autonomous Database leverages the Exadata hardware, but in addition to that, the database that it's running is fully autonomous. Self-driving, self-securing, self-repairing, no maintenance, no patching. This is the fastest time to market and a great offering for companies that want to run the database, but without running into the hassles of managing and actually managing the databases themselves, eliminating all human errors. So 3 different options that we offer in the public cloud. Okay, so let's take a look at the Oracle Database Cloud and some of the cost optimizations that we offer customers. So the Oracle Database, of course, is recognized in the industry as the #1 relational database system in the world. The Oracle Autonomous Database, which takes advantage of machine learning and the core technology of the Oracle database, will become the standard, just like the Oracle database has become today. Exadata is the best platform to run the Oracle database, period, full stop. Oracle Infrastructure, OCI, is built in the latest Gen 2 public cloud architecture, which provides the most secure and best performant end-to-end infrastructure with worldwide availability for running enterprises. Most businesses, as well as their mission-critical deployments, can run OCI. Furthermore, in addition to being the #1 relational database management system in the world, Oracle Database is also the best converged database, supporting multimodal, multi-data type, like spatial data for location awareness, or JSON for document stores, IoT for device integration, in-memory technologies for real-time analytics, and of course, traditional relational data. By providing support for all of these data types, a converged database can run all sorts of workloads, from IoT to blockchain to analytics and machine learning, with full joins, transactions, and other critical SQL features enterprises rely on today. Furthermore, it can also handle any development paradigm, including microservices, events, REST, SaaS, and CI/CD, just to name a few. From the cost optimization perspective, Oracle Database supports machine learning, blockchain, graph, spatial, JSON, REST, events, additions, and IoT streaming as part of the core database at no additional cost. It allows your teams to support many diverse projects using a single platform, significantly reducing the complexity and management overhead while minimizing risk. Why would a company spend the extra cost and time to train staff to learn and operate 15 different database systems, while the Oracle database allows you to enjoy the economies of scale while reducing time, costs, and risks without any trade-offs? Many of you have already invested in Oracle technology. Oracle Database Cloud provides the maximum investment protection by supporting Bring Your Own License, BYOL, which OCPUs will be charged at a substantially lower price per OCPU hour compared to the all-option included licensing model. In addition, BYOL gives you additional entitlement for running your Oracle database in Oracle Database Cloud at OCI, which will further increase the business values while reducing the cost. Compared to the on-prem model, where you need to pay for all of the OCPUs upfront, Oracle Database Cloud helps you optimize the cost by charging only the OCPUs you configured. Not only can you dynamically scale the OCPUs on demand, OCPUs are also charged on a per second basis. So imagine for a DR site, you no longer need to pay for all the OCPUs upfront in the cloud. You only need to enable the OCPUs needed for the DR site to take over the prod workloads when a DR situation happens. That's another cost optimization strategy that many of our customers take advantage of. It's what smart customers do. Another great feature for cost optimization on Oracle Database Cloud is that we allow you to switch between the all options included licensing model and the BYOL licensing model. So, for example, let's take a look at a retailer. Let's say you only have enough BYOL licenses for 11 months out of the year of operation. And during the Black Friday or peak holiday shopping season, you need 30% more OCPUs. However, you don't want to pay for an additional 30% of license and annual support charges. With the Oracle Database Cloud, you can switch over to the all option included license model for all of the OCPUs needed during the peak period and leave the BYOL licenses alone during that time. Once the peak period is over, you can dynamically disable all the all option included license OCPUs and switch all the OCPUs back to the BYOL license model, being more cost effective. Only Oracle Database Cloud gives you this cost optimization feature. Oracle Universal Cloud Credit Model, the UCC, is an extremely flexible payment option. and can help you further cost optimize your Oracle Database Cloud deployment at OCI. Depending on your TCV, you qualify certain discount off the list price. The UCC can be used, or the Universal Cloud Credits can be used on any OCI services and any Oracle Database Cloud services. And you have 12 months to consume all of the credits. Precision sizing for the exact monthly consumption that may result in forfeiting monthly unused credit is really no longer a concern for our customers. Because UCC can be used for any OCI services and any database cloud services, there's no need for a long-term commitment period. That means you can modernize and upgrade to the latest technology anytime you're ready to migrate your data to the latest technology available. Imagine if your business can leverage the latest Exadata technology with XCS using UCC without having your team to request another budget approval or waiting on the depreciation cycle, which is typically 48 to 60 months. This anytime modernization concept allows your company to have the competitive edge against the competition having to wait for business processes. Many of our XCS customers are taking advantage of this cost optimization feature and upgrading from X6 to X7 to X8M in the cloud without having to wait. They just need to work out the migration plan and take advantage of the latest system with better cost performance, more flexible scalability, and lower TCO to grow their business to the next level. A second major announcement that happened within the last fiscal year is Oracle Support Rewards. Now, this has been a tremendously well received in the marketplace. So this is Oracle giving back to customers. So the more that you use on Oracle Cloud, and the more you use Oracle Database on Oracle Cloud, you are going to get rewards back. So reduces your Oracle technology support bill by 25 cents on the dollar. Significant advantages for our longtime customers. They are already seeing reaping these advantages just in the last couple of quarters. This has been around. Oracle Support Rewards has been the deciding factor in a number of accounts these days to continue, and not just continue with their Oracle products, but extend their use of them. Okay, and let's just take a look at an example of an Oracle Support Rewards typical customer. So most of you are paying Oracle support today. Let's say you start out with paying $1 million annual technology support bill, but you use $2 million of OCI spend. By using that spend on OCI, you are earning $500,000 worth of support rewards, and you're reducing your support bill by half. So you're moving all the way from $1 million down to $500K per year. We've had a tremendously positive response to the Oracle Support Rewards program, and we highly encourage you to take a look at it and learn more in the links that we provide at the end. And just a point here about a couple of the current customers that have taken advantage of support rewards. We have Cognizant that has been a longtime customer of Oracle that is reaping these advantages. Experian and Specialized Bike as well. So this Specialized Bike has been a longtime EBS customer of ours. They have seen dramatic increases in their business, and as they have grown, their usage on OCI has grown. They are now supporting, now reaping the rewards of Oracle customer support rewards. Okay, so it's time to wrap it up. As our next steps or call to action, I'd like to invite you or anyone that is listening to this to contact me. My email address is michael.mersch@oracle.com. I've also provided a bunch of links in here that might be useful to you. We have a tremendous amount of content out there on the Exadata Cloud Service. If you go to the OCI blog, that has great information about the Integra Life Sciences blog is out there, as well as a lot of multi-cloud type content that we've made available. You can learn about the OCI and Azure Interconnect in both the documentation for OCI as well as the Azure documentation. And if you did a search on that, there's a wealth of content around it as well. There is the link to Oracle Support Rewards, oracle.com/cloud/rewards. We've also included some great links here to documentation on the Azure side, as well as Enabling a split stack architecture. This is a great blog post that was co-written with Oracle and Equinix, which I believe Jim was actually an author of. And then there is the link to the GitHub repo that's hosting the Terraform scripts that allow you to simply set up the Azure Interconnect. And let's see here, and then just a couple more YouTube videos that are, great content from Equinix about connecting AWS and OCI as well as GCP and OCI. So it's a multi-cloud world. Oracle wants to be the most interoperable cloud out there, and please engage with us and take advantage. Thanks. Thank you for your time.